Welcome, everyone. I think this is our third glowing in the dark. Is that right, Hari?
Honestly, it could be our fourth.
Could be our fourth.
It could
Yeah,
be our fourth. I was actually just looking at photos, and I think the first one we did was in 2021.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, phenomenal feeling.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Seema Reza. I am the CEO of Community Building Artworks. We're a nonprofit organization that got our start in the military healthcare system almost 15 years ago. And we have writing and visual art workshops for both active duty and veteran, basically both the military population, healthcare workers, and the broader population. So if you haven't joined one of our programs, we hope you will. When I started this work that 15 years ago, it was a time for me of pretty personal darkness. And it was a time when our forever wars were in full swing, when it didn't seem that they would end. In many ways, of course, they haven't. And as we gather here tonight, there are people across the world, in Gaza, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Afghanistan, in Ukraine, in Sudan, who know this. We hold them with us. Tonight, we are gathering to mark the longest night of the year. And the sublime readers in this room have come from across the history of this organization, from the very, very beginning, people who's in the space of this darkness, who have come to Walter Reed and Fort Belvoir to teach, people who came as participants, maybe in very different careers than they're in now. And one of the most extraordinary sources of light has been witnessing one another's growth, the growth of the organization, and of course, the growth of the careers and the healing of the spirits of the people that we have gotten to know intimately through this work. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Huge thank you to our readers. That's the light that we can control. I think we're facing maybe more darkness, and community is what we have. So thank you for being here. Let's hold on tight to each other. I want to begin by lighting my candle, which is why this is like so crummy, the video quality here. It's because my candle's not lit yet. And as I light it, I want to share a little prayer that I learned from a shaman. Wherever there is light, there is love. Wherever there is love, there is light. May the love of light be within me, and may the light of love surround me and you, and be my protector and yours in this day. Please light your candle if you have one. Maybe my light's a little bit better. I am so honored to introduce our host for this evening, the one and only Hari Alluri, who has been a collaborator, co-conspirator, brother, and dear friend to me personally and to the organization, and who will be guiding us through this extraordinary, extraordinary evening. Please welcome Hari.
It feels so good every time Seema introduces me. I feel like one of the luckiest people on the planet. With a shout out to Rob and Ashi, who are holding us down in both the technical and the emotional and the like just good energies of what we're doing here. Um, I apologize. I'm just learning what it means to wear glasses during these things. And what it means is that I've got the green glow thing shining on me where a candle should be. And I will never wear, I mean, unless I really want to, I won't wear sparkly frames that like blind all y'all. Anyway, um, it's good to be here. I can't wait to share in this with you and listen to all our readers. Um, I knew about community building artworks before when a dear friend and also sister, Cynthia Dewi Oka, like explained to me what it was that, you know, she had done when she went to go visit one of the VA hospitals that Seema invited her to, and she was like, "This is some work," and I've found out over time that indeed it is. And you know, during the first earliest parts of pandemic, I think I was on every weekday morning, um, and it was and is one of the ways um, that I got through and continue to get through my days. So it's double honor to be here, folks, with you. As always, I kind of begin when I come into these moments, especially when hosting, but also when reading. And I pull the numerology for the day. And what that means is I added the numbers 12, 21, and 2024 all together. And I did some adding and subtracting. And I came with the number 14, which in the Kapwa Tarot by the Filipinx Tarot by Janalyn Umipig, number 14 is Diwata. And Diwata are spirits or deities that live where the divine and earthly meet, which makes a lot of sense for me today on the longest night of the year that we are in one of the the line between the earthly and the divine is super thin. The Diwata are healers and teachers, protectors, and warriors of all things. And in holding true to their sacred callings, they invite us to find a balance of our energies and experience so that we can listen for and answer powerfully to what is calling us to live and be and share with each other in connection with ourselves and all others. Shout out to Janalini Umipig. Shout out to this as we are entering the winter solstice. Shout out to the moment of change. Before I introduce the first reader, I want to welcome folks, if it's your first time with us or your many time with us, little reminders. We have on the bottom of your screen, you can click on reactions to give reactions to folks. One of the things that I tend to do is do a little readback of language that came up during the reading. So please, when moments particularly strike you, awe-inspiring, moving, troubling moments strike you, feel free to type them into our affirmation chat. Affirm back to the readers that which they have sparked in you. And as someone who just even in our like writing workshops, there's something special about going back and reading the chat of the time when you were reading and noticing what you may not have noticed sparked for someone else that that came through your being, your practice. So welcoming folks to do those things. Thank you, Seema and Rob, for showing us how it's done. Without further ado, it is my joy to begin introducing our readers, the first of whom is Teri Ellen Cross Davis, pronouns she, her, who is the author of A More Perfect Union, which won the 2019 Journal Charles B. Wheeler Poetry Prize, finalist for the 2022 Hurston Wright Legacy Award in Poetry. You will see more information showing up in the chat, and we try our best to include links to folks' work and places where you can purchase or access their work. So please do click on those links as we drop them in there throughout the evening. Get access to folks' work. I cannot wait to listen with you to Teri Ellen Cross Davis. Thank you, Teri, for being
Thank you, Hari. Thank you, Seema. Thank you, Ashi. Thank you, Rob. It's beautiful to be here. I love the significance of today. I love the symbolism of the light and the candle, and I'm here for the healing of it all. From darkness to light, for me, I will start with a poem about migraines, which are a dark moment for me when they come, and it's hard to even adjust to the light after they're over. So this is called Migraines Have Their Say. Whitney Cottage, Hermitage Artist Retreat. Migrants have their say. You can write about the windows, all 9 of them. You could write about the Gulf, red tide strangling Florida shore, the opaque eyes of dead fish caught in the algal bloom. You could write about the sky, long as a yawn, sky blue chasing cerulean away, stretched wisps of white determined to be the canvas for another sunset showstopper. But the body has its own narrative in mind. Neurons hustling pain blank out any page. No writing can be done when an electric snare corrals the brain. No ear searching for song while one temple pulses an arrhythmic lament. Mercifully, there's tryptane, a black curtain over this inflammatory act. Strike through today. Uncap the pen again tomorrow. And what Hardy said about the veil being the thinnest, uh, another time when the veil is thinnest. And this is a poem called River Phoenix at 46. This is for the Gen X star River Phoenix, who I had a mad crush on. And as many of you all know, his brother Joaquin Phoenix is now very popular, and he's mentioned in this poem. And River Phoenix died before he turned 24 at the so of an overdose. So River Phoenix at 46 directs now, of course. Keen blue eyes trained to frame an actor's indecision between blinks of vision, the quizzical arch of an eyebrow flirting with doubt. When he shops, he wears a baby Bjorn bearing a round head spilling a stream of bushy brown curls. An older child is pushing the grocery cart, half full, his skin tinged with melanin. Phoenix's gray is barely visible, a streak that hides to itself. It's his laugh lines that give it away, blinking lights of a life well healed. Phoenix knows the bliss of a quick escape, jump cut that ends up drifting to the editing floor. He survived the days of vomiting on the Whiskey A Go Go's bathroom door. He slipped inside the beaded curtain of 30, growing his teen handsome to a mature man's gaze, a lustful linger of a look that promises more. Maybe in this story, Joaquin's dark star stays in the light. Maybe the shadows we see in him don't remind us of his brother's stereotypical fight, the one he lost before an even 24. Maybe this is just a glimpse through the veil of All Hallows Eve where Phoenix burns through his solo, speedball free. And I'll end it with another last activity that I do in the dark that comes to light in the spring, and that is plant. And because when it's darkest for me, the things I can control are the things I can grow, the things I can nurture. So this is called Playing God, and it's in 2 parts. 1, Old Testament God. Bathed in bug spray, sunglasses, headphones on, I narrow the world to dirt and dig. My fingers follow tendrils, spindly runners winding to Clover's heart. I pull, I grip the goosegrass, Bermuda grass, and nimble chokeweed, Bedford strangler, lamb's quarter, even common violet I gather and smite with one hand. Weeding clarifies want. Witness the dandelion's milk white root, bared naked from the crumbling earth. I am remaking the world into the image I want. 2, New Testament God. If I name a plant, months later, it's a seedling reaching for the sun. With these small brown hands, I raise the slumbering tuber, the budding bulb, the catatonic seed until blossoms bigger than my head dip to greet me. As bees parade in a pollen stupor, I get drunk on the Asiatic lily's deep pink trumpet, its slow fade to white. I glory in the biblical plague of rows of Sharon babies and sing gospels to the white lilac's tower of blossoms. I mold this rectangular patch inch by inch, knowing where the sun peers through layers of oak leaves, where the lily of the valley spread themselves in shadow. I know the Japanese anemones hunger as they fight the hosta's elegant unspindling. Every May is a fragrant revelation, and in these 800 square feet, my hand is the power and the glory. Amen. Thank you all for this night. Thank you all for your light.
Thank you, Teri and Steve. Yes, please throw your notes into that chat. We have been blessed. Taking a second, letting you all arrive back in your bodies after the necessary departures. And it is a joy to introduce to you to Diana Colon, she, her, who was born in Brooklyn, New York, and raised in South Florida. After graduating high school, she joined the Air Force, serving as a surgical technician in Alaska until medically discharged due to health issues. Using the 9/11 GI Bill, she earned a bachelor's degree in communications. Like I said before, more news about Diana in the chat, links perhaps, and our attention, please, to Diana Colon. Thanks.
Thank you, Hari and Seema and Ashley and Rob and everyone here. Wow, I don't know if my heart is beating because I'm about to speak or if Teri Ellen Cross Davis's writing just got to me that much. I relate so much. If I could just respond real quick, the migraines, I'm currently dealing with figuring out what's going on. I was recently prescribed a triptan and I'm like, do I take it or not? So I understand partly, from what I'm going through. Then you mentioned the gardening. Of course, the River Phoenix poetry, is very, it speaks for itself. But then you went to the gardening and playing God, and I love gardening. That's one of my ways to cope. But when you said something you can control, if I heard you right, to me, I feel like I can't, like it works or it doesn't. Sometimes you get harvest, sometimes you don't. So it is a learning thing. And when you mentioned singing gospels, I relate because I'll come up with these new hymns, walking my dog in the garden, and I'll record it on my memo. And maybe during CBAW, I say SIBA in my head, but I recently went to the music class that I missed a couple times, and I wanted to really participate and finally did. And it was such a blessing to be able to participate in this music. So I look forward to that. And for that, with that, I want to say I'm so thankful for CBAW through getting discharged from the military and dealing with anxieties and depressions. This is definitely something that has helped lift me out of the darkness. So there was something, and I'm not sure if it was from the CBAW website or somewhere else I saw it, but it was a quote and I couldn't even find who it was by. So if someone knows, let me know. Seema works too. I see that, Seema. But it said, writing about stressful situations isn't just cathartic. It can help process emotions and reduce mental strain. So this resonated with me, as writing and art have helped me process situations in life, with my family, my marriage, my stepsons, anxiety, depression, as I mentioned, chronic pain, recently becoming a caregiver of my dad, and more. So I used to think I could do life on my own. I said that. I don't need anyone. An introvert, yet a social butterfly. My energy battery draining, as I do enjoy the company of others, but I get home and I feel so exhausted. But then even after a full day, I would find myself laying on the couch and sleeping and loving sleep. I would, in the darkness, in front of the warmth of the imitation fireplace when I lived in Omaha, Nebraska, this pretty little fireplace, thinking to myself, I remember thinking, I hate my life. I would wake up from sleep and just think, I hate my life, and go back to sleep. Whew. So recently I was reading a proverb that reminded me of the warning, do not love sleep or you will grow poor. There was a lot of darkness, but I've learned that there's a light in the dark. So even thinking about CBAW, you know, getting help, there's so many resources out here. So having a set time with you all to join a Zoom call, you know, this link that you can just click on the next week after the next, to be surrounded by such grace and understanding. You know, you could be yourself, you can write whatever you want, whether you follow the prompt or not. And being able to just let the pen flow. I know, you know, you all say like, just let the pen flow. This organization, this, you know, has been such a safe place for me for healing. And even when I have writings that I procrastinate so much, so a lot of times I may not follow the prompt and I'll just use it as that time to do my writing. And it has helped me so much, but I do love the prompt. So sometimes I can't resist. Procrastination is writing too. I love it. Wow, I got to think about that one. Okay, so let me move into my poem for tonight. Just to add there that I've learned what I value through all of this, through the therapy and all that stuff. I've learned to ground myself, to breathe, which I need to do right now. I need to breathe. To pray, to read, to write, stretch, and take time to rest and reset. I still know the importance of sleep. We need to rest, but I understand not sleeping my life away. So, okay, here is my poem for tonight. The shortest day, the longest night. As it gets dark, I will not fright. I'm here with you on this special night. Though time has taught a tale so rare of this one life, yet we all can share. There's ups and downs, joy and pain, sometimes full and sometimes drained. At times we may feel it's all okay, but other times like we're going insane. So what do we do when the light goes dim? When it seems there's no hope in this life of sin? When we're faced with ourselves like a reflection? We can't see as well when the lights go dull, or maybe we see better when our eyes can't see at all. Yet the gleam in the eye tells a tale so tall. The twinkle, the glow, the window to the soul. I see hope like a light dancing in the sky, like the northern lights, the beams so bright. They come, they go, they sway and flow. I saw them at night and before the sun rose. The greens, the pinks, the celestial aureole seems so out of reach and yet so close. It speaks to me deep down in my soul that when it gets dark, there is still hope. There are sights to see, ways to cope, people to love, and hurts to let go. There is joy in the morning. This still holds true. And even when we're mourning, we can walk right through. Like the fiery furnace, it may burn the ropes. And though the blaze may scorch us, we don't have to lose all hope. We can dance in the dark. We can radiate light. We can glow in the dark. We can light up this life. So let's light up this life. Shine our light so bright. Let's glow in the dark and make it through the night. Thank you. Thank you for letting me participate with you wonderful people.
Diana Cologne, everybody. I am here for that amazing rhyme scheme, energy scheme, emotions, dream, all of it. Thank you so much for that. Folks, lit up the chat. Do look back. You'll like see pretty much everything you just said back at you. Y'all, it's a joy. Rob was talking earlier about it. It's like, it's been a year, and I'm like, a year's a long time. And this night with y'all at CBAW or CBAW or Community Building Artworks, all three, does nourish me big time. So thank you so much, Diana, for lighting that up at me. It is, as always, wonderful to get to introduce Anne once again. I think one of my just one of my surprise joys in the world has been to get to introduce Anne to you a few times, and I feel like Anne Barlieb comes with some fire ass bios, including a 6-word bio, which super accurate says, iconic masterpiece unfinished, batteries not included. Please welcome Anne Barlieb, and quick shout out to a favorite movie from back when I was a kid too, batteries not included.
Thank you. I don't know. I was thinking about doing this, but I'm not doing it, but I think I am going to do it because sitting in front of the candle, it looks so nice, but I'm actually doing the work as we do. And so I'm going to show you, I'm in the middle of going through all of my stuff. I just moved into a new condo. And this is 2.5 decades worth of clothes that I'm going through and getting rid of. And so I've stood in front of this mirror, if you can see it there, this mirror, actually wearing outfits that I wore, the outfit that I wore on 9/11 and looked into this mirror. I wore, this is a pile of marathon clothes that I used to be able to run triathlons, ultra marathons, some formal wear. This is like some suits, a pile of suits and dresses that I was getting ready to do for embassy work, and when my whole life pretty much fell apart. And the good news is because I'm putting every outfit on and wearing it, it's taken me weeks to do this, and I've gone through multiple garbage bags and thrown stuff out, but I kind of put the outfit on and I straighten out the pants with the pockets right. And I have found $20 bills, $50 bills. It's probably a couple $100 worth of money I have found. This pile of pants right here, this is, I don't know if you can see that. It's a pile of pants. There's probably money in there to be found. So this here is the outfit right after the suicide attempt. A guy in the psych ward got his daughter to donate a pair of jeans, American Eagle jeans, and then this t-shirt that's got zebras on it. I bring that up because I think it perfectly demonstrates the hard work that we have to do. I've thought about paying somebody to come in here and just trash it all. But there's that famous line that says, right, the only way out is through. And, there's been outfits that I wore when I got married in there and when I got divorced, and going through box by box and unpacking the stuff. Something that this has helped me reflect on, because it's been on my radar, this solstice reading and the idea of light. And, I came and met Seema's body of work, and writing was reintroduced into my life when there was the least amount of light in my life. But I think that this road that I've been on has been all to teach me or remind me that perhaps the biggest myth we're told is that there is an opposite of light, and that really only ever is the light obstructed. So it's fair to say that after the suicide attempt, when I came into this work and found the page, it was when my life was the most obstructed. And what was it that was obstructing the light for me? And it was the work that I did through the prompts and in community, and hearing and listening and seeing other people, and seeing other people see other people, that gently and so compassionately and with grace invited me back to living, and remove those obstructions. So I'll share 3 pieces, and it kind of has all to do with that. This is called The Art of Unpacking While en Route. My 1,200 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo has in it a skyline of towering brown boxes against every wall. At night, I sleep on a cot surrounded by unopened fragments of myself, books, clothes, kitchen utensils, board games. Every single thing I own offers no refuge, but instead reflects back to me all that is life and is not. I unpack a bag I carried on my shoulder the day something in me decided to drive my pearly white two-door sports car into a pole at 120 miles an hour. In the bag, a 2015 calendar, a referral to the Mayo Clinic, medical appointment slips, blood work results, orders to Korea, my pay record, a certificate of completion, and a class photo from the Military Deception Planners course. Black ballpoint pen sticky note art. I line up the items along the hallway and photograph them like it's some kind of procession from what has been to everything that has yet to become. The future summoning me forward and forward from where I am, all that I am. The only way to get there from here is by unpacking my way through it, living in the landscape even as it changes, and I no longer recognize myself. This one is called Mother War. War is a mother, and we are her children of 20 years, now orphans, returning from the desert where guns and bombs do what guns and bombs do, where convoys and casualties do what convoys and casualties do. We have pens and paintbrushes in our hands now. We write and paint between silver linings on days we find it difficult to face what needs facing. It's not about the performance, the punchline, or the applause. This is about remothering ourselves and creating a masterpiece from life's most miserable things. I've known enough war to know that I hate it. And yet, I'm not a pacifist because in art, there are no orphans, no ugly babies. We can't take back or change anything about what's been done to others, to ourselves. We can, however, come together in rooms with seats around tables and sometimes in front of stages. We can laugh, we can cry, we can listen. We lean in and remember we are not alone in this labor. We go away feeling connected to something so much greater than ourselves. The artist asks Mother War, "What would you have me create now?" "Yourself," she whispers. "Create yourself." So that is what we do. And the beauty, it's breathtaking. And this final one is called Light, the Opposite of. Here I am now in this moment, after the lights go down and all the doors close. Just me and the muffled hum of the small space heater that is too small for this damp, hollowed out room. I lean against the wall, feel the centuries-old hardwood floor under my feet, and think to myself, I will not live an undead life. After all, I have so much to become, and I know I will not live on forever like so many around me who refuse to die an unlived life. We are ghosts already looking into mirrors between sunrises and full moons, always forgetting that summer gives way to fall and light has no opposite. Always a pleasure to be here. For real. Thanks.
I'm gonna need a minute, y'all. Are you okay with that? I hope that you're all okay with that. I'm gonna need a minute. Ooh, man. Thank you for just for showing us what it looks like to do the work. And yeah, it's not about the applause, and those pieces are, and I've been watching you write since 2020, and those pieces are some work. Yeah, and you, masterpiece in progress. Batteries not included. Hi, everybody. My name is Hari. I'm deeply affected by this evening with you. And it is my duty to continue to introduce folks, even as we carry with us all the work magic, the heartfelt depth magic. Um, and I call it magic in a way that not because magic is easy, but because it only comes out of this kind of work. So it is my joy to carry with us all that has come before as we move into what comes. To paraphrase Anne, um, and introduce you to Aaron Caycedo-Kimura, a writer, visual artist, and teacher, author of 2 poetry books. More details in the chat as per our standard, and I can't wait to continue to be affected by all these readers' work. Please make some noise where you are and some welcoming for Aaron. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And thank you, Hari and Seema, Ashi and Rob. It's great to see you again. And thank you for all the amazing work that you do and for inviting me to read. This is my first time in this series, and I'm very happy to be here. Tonight, I'm going to read for you 3 poems, and they all have something to do with navigating the dark. The first poem is about my mother. Soon after my father died, my father passed away in 2011, and this is about my mother navigating that darkness. And this poem is entitled Garbage Can. My 83-year-old mother yells at a sanitation employee over the phone. I'm a little Japanese woman. The black 96-gallon can provided by the city is almost as tall as she, impossible for her to push and steer from the side of the house, out the gate, over stepping stones and pebbles, down the driveway. If you don't give me a smaller can, I'm going to dump this one on your desk. I have no idea how she would do this, but she says it with the chutzpah she needed after the war to find food, rebuild shelter, bury bodies after B-29s dropped firebombs on Tokyo, destroying 60% of the wood and paper city. Even when Dad was alive, my parents didn't produce much garbage, but he was taller, stronger, able to handle the can's bulk. Now that he's dead, it's post-war again. The city gives Mom the 20-gallon size, no taller than a shopping cart. Every Monday night, she pushes it to the curb as if it were filled with charred bone and ash. My next poem is about my wife, Louisa, and I navigating the darkness of my mother's death. And she passed away in 2015. And this poem is entitled In the Wake. After 3 months in my childhood room, separate twin beds, Louisa and I move into my parents' room, into their bed, the one Mom died in last week, the one they slept in 47 years, content, angry, sometimes indifferent. 4 years ago, I took it apart, made way for the hospital bed I ordered for Dad. I should have let him die in his own. Louisa and I stare at the ceiling. Around us, their mahogany dressers, Singer sewing machine, baby picture of Maudie above the TV. Just as my parents must have done countless times, we wonder about our next steps. Stay in their house, make it our home, or move back to Connecticut, find our own way. They left their bodies right where ours filled the space. With the lights out, I feel the fullness of the room. Window slit open, faint summer breeze. Seth Thomas clock with hands that glow mint green in the dark. And my last poem is an ekphrastic poem. It's inspired by a painting by Edward Hopper called Western Motel, which he painted in 1957. Thank you once again, Hari and Seema, for having me tonight. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Western Motel, 1957, after Edward Hopper. You look anxious on the edge of that bed, back straight, knuckles curled over the footboard, like you're ready to stand and leave. But you just got here, the bed still made. After a long car ride, I like to lie down, feel the cool cotton fluff of a pillow against the back of my neck. Why don't you kick off your pumps, slip out of that maroon dress, take a nap? You can set your suitcases on the luggage racks later, hang up that blue jacket. Were you looking outside before I barged in? That picture windows lit up like a movie screen. Now playing your Kearney green Buick, engine still warm and ticking. Long yellow hills, big western sky, empty road stretching both ways. Maybe you're asking yourself, what am I doing here? Is that it? Once I drove from California to Connecticut in a gray Corolla. No job, no home. My mother just died. Sometimes it's good to be nowhere, to begin again from nothing. The gooseneck lamp on the nightstand has no bulb. Call the front desk. Dial 0. Thank you.
Sometimes it's good to be nowhere. I just teared up, Aaron, on that one. And I would put in the chat, but I was swaying inside myself along with that reading. I see a couple other folks in agreement. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing with us and for doing that beautiful, difficult, grieving, living work. Thank you. Someone who I'm always happy to see on a call, Diana Osborn, is living in Vermont while plotting the next long distance hike. And let me tell you, when Diana says that she's plotting a long distance hike, she like really truly means long distance hike in like Aaron Caycedo-Kimura's like sway, like the distance sways out. She's an almost retired paramedic who writes poems and makes art, especially quilts and watercolor paintings. Let's make space in ourselves for what Diana's about to write.
Hi. You have no idea how grateful and thankful I am to be part of this community. In thinking about writing and making art in community, I think of glowing. Glowing in the dark is appropriate because I guess the way I look at creativity is that it's like bioluminescence, and it's the thing that's there already anyway, and it's kind of self-generated. But if you're just alone in the dark generating that thing, it's meaningless. And so I like the way that being in this community makes my glow a little brighter, and And I feel validated because you guys see me. I have three poems, three parts of one poem called A Few Days and Nights in NOLA. Part one. I got a cheap ticket midweek, $28 one way, plus a neither here nor there day of suspended animation in the Fort Lauderdale airport. I came to ward off a breakdown after stick season up north, some actual floods, and other pretty sick shit that I need to rise above. I need to breathe easier, maybe walk in muddy grass or on piss-wet brick. Get a pass to ride the public transportation like a normal haunted person. I hope to trade boatfuls of doubt for a sure bet, because baby, I heard blues just vaporize and float away down here where it is lit. I left my notes from the Bible talk on resurrection back home, but there are cypress knees here, angels all over the place, and more saprophytes than epiphytes. That means more living happening in decay than in the air. I expect to find spectral Spanish moss, the way you usually get down south, but something weird is going on, because there ain't no droopy gray-green veil on these live oaks, although it might return since this place preaches comeback. I see sculpture at dusk that might have been a resurrection of corpses, led skyward by silently singing angels. I pray for a soothing wake-up set from a genre of tunes Spotify might call rockabilly black metal lullaby. I want quick salvation, like CPR, sax blow and bass beat, but got tiny cricket chirps, a distant accordion, flickering lights, and realized the guy across the aisle on the bus was playing a Game Boy. Part two. I had cafe au lait and 8 beignets, while my lover, who even with a bad cold, is closer to fine than me, had coffee and what he calls beige nuts. No one speaks exactly the same language. There's at least 3 continents and 7 nations of cooking and eating here, conquering and resisting here, plenty of spit and expulsion here, and antiquity is called Cajun and Creole here, while a ginormous river surges and withdraws again and again and again, while life wiggles worm-like from mud to the liminal layer between water and air, to breathe through whichever hole is up, butt or mouth, while waving to the cockroaches that will outlast us all in these bleak yet crowded spaces. A wide open, liquor lubed purgatory, hopping with nothing bunny cute, teeming with hair-like fecundity, where 3/4 of the people aren't wearing half their clothes, or maybe it just seems like that since I'm too old to start over and live most of the time in other places. Part 3. I'm old enough to be aware of, but not too scared of, all the zombies that shuffle right off their shoes and onto black steel streetcar tracks, just looking for a light I don't have. And it makes me want to go buy each of us a cigarette lighter, but I'd give both away since you can't fly with them anyhow. I pass doorways at night, risen up above the sidewalk by 3 concrete steps. There's other sloping pieces bookending the cement stairs. So when you're kind of jazzing down the bricks, stepping out around puddles lit with excess neon, it looks for the life of you like stone couches lined up in a row, all up and down the block. But no people recline on those little sofas. Instead, people here curl up on decaying cardboard and disappear into brick walls, borrowing stored heat or maybe souls. I'm still a medic, so I check each blanketed lump for breathing and other signs of life, while all the nearly dead want is privacy under what used to be worn or warm, maybe a damp hoodie from another life, their own or someone else's. It's all quiet chaos here, and cold, and deus absconditus. So they guard themselves with something upside down, like a bike or a cross or a submissive belly up dog on a leash. All shifts rest till dawn when it's safer enough for resurrection to happen. Dark is mainly for getting through until you generate your own glow again. And it's very clear to you where you began and where you end up. This morning on the bus, I passed probably a mile of above ground cemetery where whatever is still solid of all the fully dead people is entombed, in row after row of crypts rising up above the lawn, as if high and dry is better than low and soggy. Thanks for letting me be a part of tonight.
Diana. It's right in the middle of that I was reminded of, and then took me back through the readings we've just, all of the ones we've been listening to, like, you know, even as a piece might feel so relatable, that each of these pieces that folks have shared is like, could only have been written by them, which makes each of them so important. Like each of these things that I've heard from each of you could only have been written by you. And so thank you each for writing them. I'm super grateful. I am gonna share one piece tonight, sharing it. Aaron mentioned mother's passing, not mine, but a dear, dear friend's mom, Eberlinda. We are in the 6th day of her 9-day novena. So for Tita Bay, I will read a poem that isn't about her, but is about the beloved of her daughter, who, dear friend Nikki. So shouting out and holding my dear friend Nikki. And I will read who Tita Bay, like during the period in which of our lives in which I'm about to read about, was like throwing down, kind of like we had a search party of like hundreds of people searching for our dear friend. And she was bringing like bits of food for like the core crew. And then after we found him during the novena for Eric, it was Tita Bay's kind of like street corner yard where we held that novena. So thinking of Tita Bay today, and hopefully something only I could have written. Windowsill offering for Eric. In the crematorium service room, taking clumsy ginger turns around the cardboard holding your body. Such a thin distance. 4 generations of multi-iteration families scrawl and draw our messages for you to take. An act of reaching. Even here, the squeal and fight of children over markers carries what's most somber. This act of attempting to release you to mark how we must begin to hold you another way. A promise in touch, which no one can quite live up to constant. From outside the chapel's doors, through the service room, around and down the hall, Sade's by your side, playing off your celebrant's phone as we arrange ourselves, one hand reaching forward to the next shoulder, into the shoulders of your closest and your closest blood, finally onto Nikki's. Hers, the most difficult task. Even as it's her finger on the switch, when she presses it to give your body to fire, held and utterly alone, none of us are free of it. Our hope, which is also our fear, that we reach across to the other side with you, that the messages we wrote carry us with them in the flame. Thank you. It is a joy to turn and to introduce you to LaQuantae Davis, who is an unapologetically Black decolonial educator, writer, poet, and body trust yoga instructor. Reading and writing have always been her sanctuary, but it's through poetry that she finds her truest form of expression. Please make some space within yourselves for what LaQuantae is about to share.
Ooh. Thank you, Hari. Thank you, Seema. Thank you, Ashi. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everyone. My whole body is shaking, probably because I'm about to read, but also with the energy of this night and everything that everyone has read before me. And I still can't believe that I am here. And so I will just read. If the question is, how does writing in community help you navigate the dark? My answer is, I write into the safety of darkness to take refuge from the dangers of the light. But, and also, writing in this community are the roots that keep me grounded when I would otherwise and willingly forfeit my connection to gravity, losing myself in the whispers of the stars in the darkened night. The poems that I'll be reading today are a selection from my hopefully soon to be published chapbook titled Tethered. 8. The energy I spend to keep the monsters, real and imagined, at bay for my children comes with a tax that is levied on my soul, until the space in, around, above, and below my heart is nothing more than a hollow shell, bone rubbing on bone. 9. This cannot be a part of mothering, or rather it should not be, existing only as an afterthought to my children. If I were so lucky to be someone they thought about after, but I am not even that. I am just here, my presence assumed, my body, mind, soul, and spirit, an offering that is taken, often without consent, and he who is absent is the one they miss. 10. I'll admit that the song of your death is the lullaby I hum to bring about sleep. How easy life would be, I dream, if you were just deceased. Sad, of course, for our kids, but I, the good mother, would hold their grief. The nooks of my arm, the cradle, my body rock-a-buying as my lips press to wet cheeks. An opaque veil to veil my relief that raising them alone will be simpler to do when the reason for your absence is not a choice, but a finality. Daddy's dead, not just a deadbeat. 11. I remember what it was to know you. First conversations when ours was not a language of words, but two bodies growing together as one. Heartburn for the first time that felt like death from a fire inside, dancing me awake at night with jagged elbows and strong feet, and women, older, other, elder, telling me that I'd be fine, while we whispered wordlessly, I who are you, and you who is me. You remember when you sat with him, waiting in the office of your first midwife, whose name you cannot remember, but whose face you have never forgotten. Your first postpartum checkup, the red and black maxi cozy plus plush-filled stroller that you paid $300 for before you knew that strollers that cost less still roll the same. You remember how that stroller took up most of the space in that tiny waiting room with only 4 chairs and lighting so dim you wondered if the bulbs were heading for their grave. 2 pregnant women waiting with you, like you, to have their names called back in. Back and forth, you pushed that stroller, too big to fit, looking at his face, tiny, red, puffy still from the squeezing descent. He might have been asleep. He might have been awake. Earlier that day, you read somewhere that the size of a baby's eyes never change. You've never bothered to research if that is true, because you know that in 144 moons, his eyes, always glistening and forever wide, have stayed the same. Time walked then where time flies now, and there are many things you cannot remember, but you know eventually they called your name. And you remember when she saw your face, she said because she knew that with him you were, are, and still so in love. 12. I cup the edges of your dirt brown curls the same way this same hand cupped your face to whisper you awake. Spray, bottle, brush, spray, bottle, brush. My hands work together over and under to usher those wayward curls back into the place from which during yesterday's wild recess adventures they happily escaped, that wonderful cloud puff of spiraling wonder sitting atop of your wonderful head. Under and over, hand helping hand, I rush to catch the stray drops of water racing down your neck, the way my heart races to soothe your startled squeals. I'm sorry, pretty girl, that these same hands could not protect you from him before, but I promise, perhaps dangerously, if there is a next time, that they will. 13. The echo of your laugh, the half moon of your smile, one big new grown tooth floating in space. I watch you running circles, sock-footed in the grass. My mind wants to admonish, control, change, and question without curiosity. Where are your shoes? But my heart just wants to mother with decoloniality, nonviolent, no dominance, no supreme authority, no power-struggled ego trips fueled by non-compliance, but rather a relationship where 2 humans, one older, one younger, relate bi-directionally. And though it is not a competition, the mother heart wins. So I silently watch you run circles, this and that way, and this is the balm that the mother heart needs, and the knowledge the mother mind must aim to remember. How each day this brown, bold, beautiful child teaches his mother how to be free. Thank you.
Amazing. Phenomenal. And I'm still shook. Thank you for doing that, like, to share with us and teach with us back what your children are teaching you and what deep work you must be doing to be able to learn from them in the ways that so many of us have refused to learn from our children. For the powerful dangerousness of that kind of mothering. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. I am just, I didn't say it when I was about to read, but like Seema, Rob, Ashley, Ben, invite me back every time to host this thing because I feel like in the hosting I just immerse so much into folks' work, and it's the thing I need most on this night in this world that we're in. So please always do. And you're vulnerable because you're moved by the work that I'm moved by. So you might be kind enough to do that. Invite me back. In the meanwhile, Rick writes is a first generation Mexican American who was influenced from his life spanning the East Coast. An Air Force veteran of 11 years, he has certifications in facilitation, instruction, workplace efficiency, and is a certified assistant in program management. Just before we welcome Rick, I just want to say out loud, yes, that chapbook into the world, please, now, LaQuantae. Rick, welcoming you to share with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you to CBAW. This has been a community that's been very, very integral to my transition out of the military. And I wanted to encapsulate light and dark in what I believe to be some of my best writing. I was challenged by my poetry coach to write a juxtaposition poem, and sometimes the poem that you need comes out. Before I read A Dream by the River, I was asked, what is writing as a light for me? Writing is a light that we all harbor within ourselves. It is the illumination to every dark corner of our heart. It's a spotlight hanging over our regrets. It's a keepsake from the sun when we try to describe beauty. This poem is titled A Dream by the River. The coo of a dove tries to wake me from my slumber. I was dreaming of laying near this babbling brook, accompanied by the good book, hoping that the right direction is hidden somewhere in these pages. The morning light lightly lifts my eyelids and it asks me, hey, are you ready to start the day? A day where the only demands needing to be met are that of being a good father. I'm not going to lie, it sounds like a lot of fun. We can build a fort, maybe go to the park and run. But then the problems that I try to pin in between Genesis and Exodus slowly started to seep out of the page. My son's laughter came to my rescue. It met my anxiety outside and it said, no, not today. What it did allow was a welcoming thought for me to be a kid again. Watching my son live his life with so much joy made me realize that I need to heal my inner boy. The calm currents and the cacophony of the water open the valves of my heart so that my younger self and my son can play together. What a dream by the river. Sunlight was very jealous of our smiles. The breeze stopped for a second and enjoyed our laughter. The grass welcomed the weight of our weightlessness. Time and space began to dilate. My son safely nestled next to me. We dozed off. This has to end at some point. My inner voice tries to shake me awake. I shudder and I try to soothe myself back to sleep as I'm reminded that my time has been dilated due to large brass using many guns. I sent my son back to safety as the babbling brook now looked like the Nile defiled with vials of blood, hoping to bring about the second flood. There's nothing many about those guns. There's nothing many about 3,000 to 6,000 rounds per minute, how any minute the choices of those flying eagles under stars can summon hell from the heavens. Good heavens, my friends. There's so many different people and so many different versions of heaven who can confirm that they are very good at their jobs. Sometimes a hand gets inserted to move the mouth of a puppet. Who wants to see a show? It's called War Games in America, and I nominate all of you false patriots to lay down your keyboards and don that full metal jacket, a double-edged shield protecting those who are weak. Next week, there might be an onslaught against those who are weak. Do you really want Theo Sunwell circling in your corner? I've seen some things. But one thing I didn't see in those screens that would make you scream is an X to close out. No, the X remains an open letter, begging, beckoning any enemy of these United States so we could take their name from a headline and put it down on a headstone. Who would have thought that our eyes in the sky would have such an insatiable appetite? I feel my heartbeat in my head. I spring awake from my bed, doing my best to forget those things that I'd wish I'd never seen. I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to see them now. They're trying to encroach on my dream by the river. Squeezing my eyes does not purge the memories from my mind. All it does is prime my tear ducts to want a temporary lobotomy located in my temporal lobe. This ice pick I've dislodged from my heart hovers right over my eye as I see this nightmarish water slowly begin to rise. Do I run away or do I stay? I'm drowning in my thoughts. My rusty water now fills my lungs, my dreams, my nightmares, my id, my ego. They all become one. I'm just so tired. I decide that it's time to let the tide decide. But with my nose barely above the water, despite every hole I have inside this boat, I deserve to have my dream by the river. The coo of a dove. Rick, wake up. We have to remain afloat. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you guys. Um, Poetry is the one thing that's been very consistent for me. So I appreciate you all so much for letting me be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. The many directions that poem moves, and like all sourced from the image of the father's inner child playing with his child. Word. And yes to the breath afterwards, Martha. You take a breath after each of these sharings, I feel like. Maybe we'll just do that right now. Take a little breath. Thanks everybody for being here. Personal shout out to poetry themselves, the act of poetry, the work that we do, and a welcoming. She Dragon 713, write some, read lots, create things with my hands. Proud Vietnamese mother of a blossoming trans girl and a sardonic boy. Word, please welcome She Dragon 713.
Sorry, I just muted myself. I came across this quote, which perfectly reflects this occasion and is especially true of the community of writers I've been fortunate enough to share with in CBAW workshops. And just like the moon, you shall go through phases of light and dark and everything in between. And though you may not always appear with the same brightness, you are always, always whole. I'd like to thank Community Building Artworks for holding the space and including me tonight. I'd like to thank especially Seema, Rob, Laura, Ben, Ashley, and Hari. Okay, I always tell my kids to be thankful. We have so much, less than some, but so much more than half the world. That list is endless. So here, I'll focus on the things I'm grateful for not having. I don't have diabetes, though it runs in my family. I don't have bad hearing or dementia, at least not yet. I don't have COVID or any other infection or disease. I don't have a job I hate. I don't have a mountain of debt. I don't have to make only minimum payments. I don't have to have a second or third job to keep the lights on. I don't have children who don't talk to me. I don't have low self-esteem. I don't have to feel alone. I don't have food insecurity. I don't have to grow, catch, or kill my own food. I don't have to share my bed unless I want to. I don't have to sleep in a tent except on camping trips. I don't have to worry about being able to put gas in my car. I don't have to drive now that my kids can. I don't have to deal with bullies. I don't have room for hatred or fear. I don't have time to waste on stupidity. I don't have to be a denier. I don't have to be right to be happy. I don't have to blame anyone for my mistakes. I don't have to worry about being deported. I don't have to worry about driving while black. I don't have to worry about being bombed out of my home. I don't have to make small talk. I don't have to spend time with people I don't like. I don't have to cook if I don't want to. I don't have to wash clothes by hand. I don't have to put up with ignorance. I don't have to be afraid of change. I don't have to stay silent. I don't have to live under a dictatorship. I don't have to turn the other cheek. I don't have to take an eye for an eye. I don't have to abide by the rule of thumb. I don't have to marry for financial security. I don't have to live in a caste system. I don't have to get my news from Fox. I don't have to have a reason to smile. I don't have to behave. I don't have to have quiet orgasms. I don't have to dim my brightness. I don't have to stay in a bad marriage. I don't have to keep up with the Joneses. I don't have to give a damn what influencers say. I don't have to beat around the bush. I don't have to be weak so you can feel strong. I don't have to space to hold grudges. I don't have to be greedy and heartless. I don't have to be a feckless coward. I don't have to be a ballsless sycophant. I don't have to say things I don't mean. I don't have to lie to get what I want or need or to get elected. I don't have to take people's rights away to maintain supremacy. I don't have to make others less so I can have more. I don't have to have more to feel good about myself. I don't have to have what she's having. I've been having lots of it. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be rescued. I don't have to fit in. I don't have to watch what I say. I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to do or be anything I don't want. Okay. I'm switching poems. I was going to read a different poem tonight, but the French compared us to ants, seeing us as nothing but laborers to be trampled on, used, killed. They frightened us into submission by putting the heads of province chiefs on stakes planted in rice bushels. They took our lands, our resources, our women, our men, but also gave us useful things like baguettes, coffee, carrots, and chocolate. But they wouldn't give us freedom. None of them would give us freedom because the resources were too rich. 1,000 years under Chinese rule, 100 years of French colonization, 20 years of brother fighting brother, rivers of tears, rivers of blood, napalm, Agent Orange, AIDS introduced by foreign tourists to women struggling to feed their families, flood, war, famine, poverty. The devastation continues. Now we're scattered to the four winds, forming new colonies in strange lands, resilient, thriving, struggling, and who doesn't know of pho but me and Café Chaudard. So I guess we are like ants, and you cannot exterminate us. Okay, this last poem is one that I wrote during a CBAW workshop facilitated by Seema. I have to give me a second to find it. Sorry. Okay. This is where the poem turns its face to the sky to soak in the morning light, the dewiness of dreams unmet, the shattering of night. This is where the poem beckons you to its bosom, to smother you with its breath, to delight you with its yield, to remind you of homes unknown. This is where the poem leads you astray down a winding rocky trail, littered with drowned sea stars and starlight, glittering in the darkness of your heart, blistering in the closing of your mind. This is where the poem turns you away from the love you once knew, a man you once trusted, a path you were on, all of it diminished in the sunlight, in the limelight. Through the skylight, you glimpse a murmuration of starlings and glide in the undulations ever higher, only to plummet, swirling, twirling, whirling. This is where the poem reminds us, fall twice, rise 3 times. Thank you, everyone.
Fall twice, rise 3 times. Definitely big fan of She Dragon 713 as a first-time listener. Thank you so much for shaking me out. Yeah, for shaking me out and reminding me and then teaching me. I'm sad to report that we have only one more reader left. I'm grateful to report that that reader is Maya Marshall. Just before I introduce you to Maya Marshall, a note that I'm pretty sure Seema will come back on afterwards. I will do scroll back, read back, and then we'll pass it up to Seema to say a few things. And so please stick around for those moments. Pretty sure that Ashi will throw back everybody's info into the chat for us to reconnect with all the folks who have been connecting us to our oldest, youngest, deepest, wisest, most troubling, and baddest selves. But first, a little space in ourselves to be shook again. Maya Marshall is a poet, essayist, and editor, winner of the 2024 Holmes National Poetry Prize, and the author of All the Blood Involved in Love. She's a McDowell and Cave Canem Fellow and is up right now. Maya Marshall, everybody.
Thank you, Hari and Seema and Ashi and Rob and all of you incredible reader, poet, people who bring your whole selves to this room. Thank you. What does it mean to me to write in the dark and community? I'm just really grateful that my friends are so willing to be alive and muchly, even though sometimes they're not so interested in being alive. I do have a hard time believing in things that are greater than the celestial bodies we can reach. But I do believe in the things that we make, and that feels like when I run into you, I go into a dark room and see lots of sparks. So I appreciate you. I wrote a poem recently. I'm going to read that, and then I'll read one I wrote at the beginning of the year. What will save us but erosion over time? Or might extinction be a mercy? Human beasts gather beneath the moon in the thick of woods, beside gurgling waters. Singly and together we look up to the first guiding light through darkness. We listen to the swell of sound beyond our breath, hush the chorus of the ground's whispering beetles, the sips of air and bursting creek bubbles, snap of branches, the tambourine skin of shaking leaves. The moon sits silent, distant, revealing times past. The ground, black with night, reflects slivers of moonlight. Outside the woods, commerce crashes on. Trains, trucks, assemblies trundle on, crashing over jungles and plains. Giants of progress, like those that made the South howl. Sing that meanwhile train whistle, that mournful lullaby about progress, plowing the earth itself down. The moon we love for her returning face turns again, sheds no tear. Rock and the beyond atmosphere. We look up for guidance, some answer to our own greedy destruction. The moon and sun don't even look down. They hurl through space in pattern, perpetual until directed by some other law of nature. Nature who strives for homeostasis. We little beasts, gathered inside and beneath them, look up as if any place is steady. All right. Relentlessly grief-stricken and enjoying the end of spring flowers. Apocalypse, meaning a great disaster. This one is happening slowly, lobsters, a simmering pot. There's time to course correct, but group projects so often end in failure. I admit the end of spring flowers brings me joy in this city forest. When summer reveals her toes in warm light, when snow recedes and frost tender field marigolds seed way to coneflowers. I admit I am relentlessly grief-stricken. Transitions take so much. Take meaning require, meaning dues, meaning something dies so that something else might live. Grief attends such parties. You don't need a list, but here's a gift. Knuckles. First blood. A mother's septuagenarian onion skin, a father's delayed understanding, menopause, human ash, impotence, pill bugs on their backs and other armors, other detritivores and decomposers. We all have jobs to do. All moves on. Praise moving on. I am relentlessly grief-stricken, and enjoying seems a crime, an infraction, a betrayal, seems ungrateful. What's the word for when you know your bounty and it swells while your body double shrinks with starvation, dehydration, for when your suburban sack race team sees a father hopping, heaving, having a cardiac event, and the race goes on? While your voice is choked or you are screaming and your feet are tangled in your own burlap and the screams you scream are drowned by glee while a hospital falls in on itself because a powerful military's bomb was aimed at it, and all the children, pregnant women, elderly, infirm, healers die inside the rubble, while progress inches forward and recedes like a chest rising and falling, all breath moving forward until it ends. What's the word for that? We could all be justifiably furious at all times, but our nervous systems would fail. The flowers are blooming in winter now and dying instead in spring. This same dynamic, let fall all spent leaves and hopeful seeds. Let soil rest and detritivores feed. Let storms, calm, and sustenance return the birds' ancient migrations. Thoughts and prayers. Limp to a crowd and sway it. Call it tulip, a totem. Call it genocide, a genocide. Let us think of nothing else but flowers and the bodies of children limp. We cannot love life without knowing its opposite. Lay a rose next to a corpse and name what it takes to keep each one living. Observe the pallor and ash against the hue of a petal. Note the tender lip turned hard and the petals slow crinkling. I am relentlessly grief-stricken. The last gasp of man's place in nature calls me to the forest preserve, manicured and nursed by volunteers. I trust the muscles of my thighs, the arches in my feet, and watch the cardinal flit. Watch as dusk descends and the late evening as spring turns to summer. I know time will go on. Summer, then autumn will come. I will love the sapling of friendship. I will love the cicatrix on a family tree. I will love the dying root for all it has absorbed and let pass. I am grief turned fractal. Let fall the petals to the mouths of millipedes. Let compost feed waking dormant seeds. Long live the spring. The spring is dead. Thank you all so much for all of this and this space and time.
Thank you for the spring. The spring is dead. Thank you, Maya Marshall, for all of that piece carries and refuses to put down. Thank you all for being here. Let me welcome just the names, first of all, the readers back. And I will read back pieces of, there's something beautiful that that our friend Ryan Artis did, who's here in the chat and here listening this summer in person, which reminds me of something I attempt to do sometimes in readings like this, which is just to read back a few moments. They are incomplete, and they can never be what the pieces were that we just were driven by, and they might serve as like a small way to remind us back through where we've just been, which is also where we still are. In reverse order, from Maya Marshall, She Dragon 713, Rick Wrights, LaQuantae Davis, Hari Alluri, Diana Osborn, Aaron Caycedo-Kimura, Anne Barlieb, Diana Colon, and Teri Ellen Cross Davis. And I believe there might even be a little bit Seema quotations from the opening moments up in here too. Grief, breathless, wow. Grief turned fractal. We cannot know life without knowing its opposite. What is the word for that? All breath, father's delayed understanding, knuckles, first blood, a gift. Returning face of the moon, slivers of tambourine skin of shaking leaves. A path you are on, see stars and starlight, this where the poem leads you astray. And you cannot exterminate us, so I guess we are like ants. Been having lots of it. This is such a great premise. Quiet orgasms? No, I don't have to dim my brightness. I don't have to have a reason to smile. Always, always whole, like the moon, you shall go through phases. Write some, read lots. We have to remain afloat. Every hole, I deserve to have my dream by the river. Let the tide decide. Large brass using many guns, my time has been dilated. Time and space dilate. Younger self and my son can play together. Illumination to every dark corner. Give thanks for the darkness. Teaches his mother how to be free. Terrific. That's my baby. I need your chapbook. Ooh. Teaches his mother. Bidirectionally, the mother heart win. A relationship. Circles sock-footed in the grass. We are, and still so, in love, have stayed the same. He may have been asleep, too big to fit, waiting with you like you have to have your names called. The older, other, elder. The one who is absent cannot be a part of mothering, the sound. Sharing your gifts, the words of touch, carrying, hand reaching, that ending, reach across to the other side with you, another way, an act of attempting. My soul is so completely and totally honest to God. So much music, whatever is still solid, the repetition of resurrection, getting through until you glow again. Deus abscondicus, forgive, quiet chaos, a light that I don't have. Liquor-lubed purgatory, paradox, no one speaks exactly the same language. I want quick salvation. More living happening in the decay than in the air. An imaginary picture, crying actual tears, a kaleidoscope to listen to all night. Call the front desk. Sometimes it's good to be nowhere. Before I barged in, were you looking out the window? Let their bodies right where we fill their space. The detail, the pace, the years, navigating the darkness, no taller than a shopping cart, able to handle the cans, bulk almost as tall as she, a place to share, not because magic is easy. We are ghosts already, looking into mirrors. I will not live an undead life. What needs facing? Where guns and bombs do what guns and bombs do. No refuge, but instead reflected back all that is the art of unpacking. The biggest myth that we've been told. And a few more. What we need to make it through the light. We can dance in the dark. It may burn the ropes. There is still hope. Windows to the soul, the twinkle, the glow. Windows, always windows. What we are faced with is ourselves. I used to think I could do life on my own. The power and the glory, amen. A fragrant revelation. Blossoms bigger than my head dip to greet me. The narrow world, the things I grow, the beaded curtain of 30, neurons hustling pain. Love, the sparkly flame. To all. Maya Marshall, She Dragon 713, Rick Wrights, LaQuantae Davis, Diana Osborn, Aaron Caycedo-Kimura, Anne Barlieb, Diana Colon, Teri Ellen Cross Davis, Seema Reza, Ashi, Rob, and everyone here. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you all for being here, for the reading. Thank you, Hari, for guiding us through this evening. I want to close with this poem called Threshold. It's a short one. I know people got to go to bed. Listen, it's past my bedtime. Threshold. Maybe you imagine Mercury's shimmering opacity, a filmy grand crossing, something more profound than what you got. The distant bark of dogs, wailing baby downstairs, gravel churning under tires, the creak of loose boards, underground trains screaming, and you aboard, seeking to be knocked off your feet, out of your mind, into the spinning galaxies. But baby, this is it. Everywhere you look is Milky Way, the inky otherworld expanding. Leave your sweater. Leave your bag of bones, the clump of woes you cover with skin. Step from your slippers. Leave your feet too. And walk through. None of this is ordinary, least of all you. Thank you. Thank you all for being so much more than ordinary. Those of you who listened, those of you who read, our facilitators who showed up this way for us, who show up this way for us so generously, our participants who read shit they just wrote to rooms full of strangers. What is that kind of courage? I want more of it. I want more of all of you. Please keep spending time with us. Have a great night. Much love. Good night.